Half an hour later, I entered the Englishman's house, together with the police commissioner and the captain of the gendarmeries. The servant, bewildered and in despair, was crying before the door. At first I suspected this man, but he was innocent. The guilty party could never be found. On entering Sir John's parlour, I noticed the body stretched out on its back in the middle of the room. His vest was torn, the sleeves of the jacket had been pulled off, everything pointed to a violent struggle. The Englishman had been strangled. His face was black, swollen and frightful, and seemed to express a terrible fear. He held something between his teeth, and his neck pierced by 5 or 6 holes, which looked as though they had been made by some iron instrument, covered with blood. A physician joined us. He examined the finger marks on the neck for a long time, and then made this strange announcement. "It looks as though he has been strangled by a skeleton." A cold chill seemed to run down my back, and I looked over to where I had formerly seen the terrible hand. It was no longer there. The chain was hanging down, broken. I bent over the dead man, and in his contracted mouth I found one of the fingers of the vanished hand, cut, or rather sawed off, by the teeth down to the second knuckle. Then the investigation began. Nothing could be discovered. No door, window, or piece of furniture had been forced. The 2 watchdogs had not been woken from their sleep. Here, in a few words, is the testimony of the servant. "For a month his master had seemed excited. He had received many letters, which he would burn immediately. Often in a fit of passion, which approached madness, he had taken a stick and struck wildly at this dried hand riveted to the wall, and which had disappeared, no one knows how, at the very hour of the crime. He would go to bed very late and carefully lock himself in. He always kept weapons within reach. Often at night he would talk loudly, as though he were quarrelling with someone. That night, somehow, he had made no noise, and it was only on going to open the windows that the servant had found Sir John murdered. I communicated what I knew of the dead man to the judges and public officials. Throughout the whole island an investigation was carried out. Nothing could be found. One night, about 3 months after the crime, I had a terrible nightmare. I seemed to see the horrible hand running over my curtains and walls like an immense scorpion or spider. 3 times I awoke. 3 times I went to sleep again. 3 times I saw the hideous object galloping round my room and moving its fingers like legs. The following day the hand was brought to me, found in the cemetery, on the grave of Sir John Rowell, who had been buried there because we had been unable to find his family. The first finger was missing. Ladies, there is my story. I know nothing more." The women, deeply stirred, were pale and trembling. One of them exclaimed, "But that is neither a climax nor an explanation. We will be unable to sleep unless you give us your opinion of what had occurred." The judge smiled severely. "Oh, ladies, I shall certainly spoil your terrible dreams. I simply believe that the leisure-time owner of the hand was not dead, that he came to get it with his remaining one, but I don't know how. It was a kind of vendetta." One of the women murmured, "Oh, no, it can't be that." And the judge, still smiling, said, "Didn't I tell you that my explanation would not satisfy you?" The Hand, narrated by James Collins. Directed by Elena Agoyo Bernabeu. Translated by McMaster Henderson, Quesada and others. Sound effects by Phinolia Productions. Music by Mosogroski, played by Skidmore College Orchestra for moosopen.org. For more stories, visit audiostories.com.